Hi, and welcome to a very special Coworking, a podcast about what makes Coworking special. And this month, we're welcoming Kellen Klein from Community. Wait, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Community for.
Citizens
I
for
was just on it, checking everything you've been doing because of the fire and all that. And then I'm like, I just remember Oregon
It's not the easiest
and the
name.
fire.
Remember, it's all good. Citizens for Community, or C4C for short.
Citizen, C4C, yeah, Citizen for Community in Oregon. I was saying they've been doing some stuff with the fire and everything for their local community, not just for the co-working space. So that's pretty amazing. I've got to know Kaylan through a friend of a friend of a friend. I always asked if people know amazing people they want to hear more about, and Kaylan was there. So I'm very happy to get to share his story. And first of all, hi, Kellen. Thank you for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me from all the way around the world.
Yeah, the pleasure is shared. And as I was saying, you're doing so many different things. This is a podcast about co-working and you're managing a co-working, but it's not just a co-working. And we'll talk more about that later. But first of all, how did you get started?
Yeah, so the organization that I run, Citizens for Community, has been around since 2016. We hired our first executive director in 2020, and I joined the organization in 2023. So I've been with the organization a little over 2 years now. And we've had quite a big evolution along that pathway. We started back in 2016, really focused on fostering civil discourse in our community. And over
Yes.
time, we expanded to do a lot broader suite of community related activities. So now our core pillars of work are civility, collaboration, civic engagement, and social connection. We believe that we need to know our neighbors and be connected with one another and have trust before we can feel incentivized to work together to solve hard problems, to speak with one another respectfully, to feel invested in being part of the change that we want to see in our community. So that's how we work now. We start with relationships and then we view that as the top of the funnel and we pull people into that to get them more engaged in our community. And earlier this year, we had just a small private office up in a local music hall, actually, but it was not the most conducive to bringing people together in our own space for connection, collaboration, all those things that I mentioned. And this beautiful building in the center of town became vacant. It's actually a city-owned building. And around that same time, a lot of groups had started to come to us, a lot of other community groups, sisters in surrounding areas saying, hey, do you have any suggestions for a place that we can hold our board meetings, for a place where we can host events where we don't need a certificate of insurance? Do you have a place where our volunteers can get out of the house and be less socially isolated and have a place to connect and work every once in a while? What are your suggestions? And so it felt like all these groups from around our community were increasingly coming to us looking for support around physical spaces. That's right at the same time that this beautiful building became available. The building used to be, or originally it was our library for our town. Then it became the Chamber of Commerce building. Then there was an attempt to turn it into a maker space that lasted only about a year. And that's when we learned about it soon becoming vacant. And so we
Yeah.
approached the city who owned the building and said, hey, we think this can really fit a community need right now, which is a space for people to gather, to connect, to work together, and to support a broader suite of community events. And we feel like we're the right stewards to carry that forward. As a nonprofit organization, this really aligns with our mission, and it can be a place for us to really ground all of our work in a physical space. So we pitched the city on it, and they went for it. They really wanted to see this building go towards a community benefit, and they saw
Yeah.
us as the right organization to do. And because of that, we were able to rent it for well below market rate because we're stewarding it forward as a community service, if you will. And so we, it was a little bit of a process to convince the board to come along and to do our due diligence to make sure that this was the right move for us at the right time, especially since I'm the only employee of our organization. But eventually we all collectively agreed that this was worth a shot. And we
Yeah.
moved in on July 1st. And now we have been here for a little over 3 months, and things are going pretty well. So I can get more into that as well. But that's how we got into the space in the first place. I think the last thing, though, that I'll add is to actually build out and furnish the space. The building, we didn't have to do any renovations on, but to furnish it, it brought the community together in some ways. It felt like an old-fashioned American barn raising. You might not be familiar with that concept, but back in the day, the whole community used to come together to help someone build a barn because they knew that then when they needed help, the rest of the community would come to them and help them build a barn. And it felt like that with this space. I had an interior designer offer her services for free to help us think about what it would look like. We had a bunch of people donate plants to really make the space more vibrant. One of our local coffee roasteries donated all of their rolling chairs. I'm looking out at the space right now to remind myself. That's why I keep looking.
Sure.
Donated rolling chairs from their conference room, and it was a huge benefit. We had the former people in the space give us a bunch of their furniture at a discount. We had people donate whiteboards. So it felt like a real community effort to even bring the space together. And that perfectly fit our mission for community building. I'll pause there.
Yeah, so made by the community for the community, it really represents all this even at the very beginning to get everything said and done and
Yeah,
started. So it's really from the first on, it was community based.
exactly. You get it. Yep.
So pretty interesting. You were saying you had your own office, people were coming by asking if space. And so you decided, hey, this is amazing building. Let's do something amazing with it and build that kind of space. What did you think that space would look like and how did it evolve? What does it look like right now compared to what you were imagining?
Yeah, we wanted the space to be able to be tailored to the various community needs because we'd heard a lot of different things from the community. I need a space to work.
Yes.
I need a space to meet. I need a space to host my events. I need a space before the workday starts, after the workday starts. And so we wanted to make it as modular as possible or as flexible as possible.
Mhm.
We also knew that we needed to raise revenue from it. We had to pay our bills, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And so one of the first things that I did, there's 2 private offices in the space, and then the rest is open common area. For the private offices, I knew that we needed one, but one of the first things we had to do was
Mhm.
find a tenant. And I wanted that tenant for the space to be someone who was really mission aligned with our work and also supporting the community. And fortunately, I was able to find our local destination management organization, which is the entity that tries to promote tourism in the town. It's called Explore System.
Okay.
They actually already had a visitor information vestibule on the north side of the building, which like attached to the building, it's just an unstaffed area. You get maps and tourism guides of the town and that type of stuff. Well, I was able to convince them to move into the open office space as well. And so it felt like now we had a community. Oh, is that your furry friend?
Yeah, yeah, the owner is back, so he's been
And there's Mark. That's the
he's
dog. We work today,
excited. He's saying, yeah, yeah, you're back, you're back. Voilà.
of course. So, anyways, I was able to convince them to move into here, which was great because that was a guaranteed revenue stream every month. And it felt like we were now having this fun balance of a community organization and a visitor organization in the same spot, which hopefully will eventually bring those 2 populations together to be in more relationship with one another too. We want this to be a welcoming community for visitors and the people who live here alike. After that, as I mentioned, we were able to get a lot of furniture donated and different things like that. But one thing that was really valuable was having almost all of our furniture on wheels. That allows us to move things around in the common area really easily. We have a set of lockers that creates a dividing wall. So we have a semi-private meeting space. I can just take you on a tour later if you want, but we have a meeting
Sure.
space that is not fully private, but where you can have a larger group session. Then we have some smaller tables where you can do more of a standard co-working hot desk type of setup.
Yeah.
Then we have a lounge area with a couch and some lounge chairs for more casual meetings. We have a kitchen, not a full kitchen, but fridge, microwave, sink where people can prepare their meals. And then we have this awesome
Mhm.
sound bank, which I'm in right now, which I got off of Facebook Marketplace for, they normally cost $6,000. And I got it from some startup going out of business in 3 hours away for $300. And so I was
Ooh,
there
such a
renting.
sweet deal.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
drove over there, rented a trailer, brought it back. So anyways, we've tried to set up different ecosystems for different types of work in the space, but then we also make it
Yeah.
available for after hours meetings if people want to have a private session or before hours. The farmers market comes in here on the weekends, and so they move things out of the way and they have a bunch of booths and vendors in here. So it really has proven to be modular, and it seems like every time we have an event in here, people are setting up the room in a different way, which I love to see. That feels like we're serving their needs as opposed to them having to fit into our needs. So it's been really cool to see all the
Yes.
different ways that we can shift the environment around.
Yeah, it's amazing how you thought about the wheels. Is that something you thought beforehand that you really wanted to have something modular, or did it happen bit by bit organically as you were putting things in the building?
Because we inherited or purchased quite a bit of the furniture from the prior tenant, which was a maker space, and they had
Yes.
chosen to have a lot of these tables on wheels so that they can move them around for workshops and things.
Mm-hmm.
We kind
Mm-hmm.
of stumbled into it, and I'm not sure if I would have thought as proactively to do that. But because we
Yeah.
had that furniture, we realized pretty
Yeah.
quickly, oh, this can be a lot more flexible than we'd anticipated. And that worked out perfectly for us. And yeah, it was a pleasant surprise, but it's proven to be pretty integral to our model to be that flexible.
Oh, super interesting. I love how you're saying that the farmer market, for example, put everything on the side because it's on wheel, it's easy, and they just occupy the space as they want.
Yeah, exactly. And even with my own workshops and classes that I've hosted in the space, and we do that as well, we create our own programming.
Mhm.
I try to experiment with a different setup every time just to see what's going to work. And we're still building out additional furniture and we're still adding new resources. So it's an iterative process, and I'm sure we'll continue to adapt as we see how the space is used. But as an example of the types of events that we've hosted in the space, within a couple weeks ago, within a 6 day span, we had
Yes.
a goat cheese making workshop. We had our local festival of books had a workshop in here on like an author talk. We had the farmers market, a grant writing workshop, a local business association board meeting, a local trails maintenance accessibility committee meeting, a economic development cocktail mixer, and a writers group meeting here. And so it's just been a real diversity of types of organizations and
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
Each one of those had a slightly different setup. And so that just makes the space feel alive, but also just very exciting in terms of how we can adapt to a broad array of different uses.
So I guess the different type of services that you provide is that people can just come in and stay for the day and you act a bit like a library, co-working, or they can rent a workspace and make it their own and bring their own thing in there.
That's right. Yeah, almost. I won't say the co-working is an afterthought. It was an integral part of the plan from the beginning. It's probably not actually the primary focus. On a daily basis, we have
Mhm.
right now only about 2 to 4 coworkers coming in every day. And that's fine right now. It's pretty calm and quiet. And I'm sure that will pick up as
Yes.
the winter hits and people are looking to get out of their houses here. And also as we continue to promote the space. But the event and gathering opportunities that we're promoting for the community at a very low cost have actually been one of the most popular components so far and one of our
Yes.
revenue generators. One thing I haven't mentioned yet that's a bit unique about
Mhm.
our space is that our co-working is all donation based or pay what you can. So
Yeah.
there's no memberships, there's no subscriptions, there's no financial hook to get in the door. It's come when you want, when we're open, pay what you can, stay as long as you want or as little as you want, come back whenever you want. And that flexibility has proven really
Mhm.
valuable to people in our community, and it's led to a lot more connection than we might otherwise have. There's another nonprofit in town who has construction going on
Mhm.
next to their headquarters. So when it's really loud, some of their employees will come over here, and we get an opportunity to cross-pollinate and connect more than we would otherwise. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people who are more remote workers and have dropped off their kids for school but don't want to go back to their house in the country will stop here and work for a couple hours in the morning. We'll have an artist who just wants to get out of her house and comes and draws in the space for a little bit in the morning. And so that flexibility has been really key for us, but it's also surprisingly led to a lot of generosity. Maybe more than we would have had if we had a restricted membership solution. Um, as an evidence point for that, I was just crunching the numbers today. So we've now been open just over 3 months. In those first 3 months of operation, if we set aside the startup expenses that we needed ahead of time to purchase furniture and get the space established, within that first quarter, we actually turned a profit. And that's largely based on donation revenue. In addition to people who have
Yeah.
come into the space and donated for their use of it, we have also had some very generous donors from the community who have said, I believe in what you're doing. I think it's wonderful. We support your organization. Here's a check for an entire month's rent, for instance. And the fact that we're a nonprofit and can accept those types of donations, and because people believe in the mission that we're trying to achieve with this space, has led to a lot of generosity from the community. And that just perfectly fits the model that we're trying to go for. And it's really nice to be profitable in Q1. That was a pleasant surprise to see those numbers pencil out.
Yeah, that's good because you start, you don't know if it's a good idea or not. You think, okay, let's give it a shot, let's try it out. Of course, you could think, oh, it's a novelty side of it. People are curious about it, they find interesting. So we are not even gonna ask, but at least they're being interested and they're showing up. So
Yeah,
that's a huge plus, a huge good point. Yeah.
I agree. It's been amazing. Now, I'll qualify that this only really works because we get such discounted rent from the city. It's less than 50% of market rate is what I would say that for us to space. That's because they wanted to see the space go towards a community benefit.
Yes.
And so we feel a responsibility to pay it forward to the community, which is one of the reasons
Mhm.
we've got a donation-based model. If we had to pay double the rent, I'm not sure that we could have made this donation-based co-working model work. You have to fit hand in that respect. But it is an
Yes.
interesting example of a city or a municipality supporting
Yes.
co-working and remote
Mhm.
working if they see the value to their community from a connection standpoint, collaboration, economic development, all of those things. So for any listeners that are interested in this type of approach, I would say maybe talk to your city or other regional entity around if there's an opportunity to collaborate to create a community space type such as this that can enable co-working and meetings and events and workshops and classes and a variety of different beneficial uses for your residents.
Yes, and it's really important to partner with the citizens, with the local folks, with the local governments, and with local businesses. It's all together that you make it work. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And we
Mm.
partnered with all of those, and we for event and like class rental or for meeting space rentals, we're very flexible. It depends on in terms of our pricing, I guess I should say. Well,
Mhm.
we try to be flexible with
Mm.
all the coordination and stuff, but also with the pricing, our current approach and what we're experimenting with it is if you are providing a service or a class or an event that is free and open to the public, we're not going to charge you for it. If you are doing a private event and you're a nonprofit, we'll charge one rate. If you're a private event and it's for a business, we'll charge a higher rate. And so we have a tiered structure based on the
Yes.
organization's willingness to pay. And thus far, that's worked out okay for us.
Yeah, it's because you've got such partnership with the local government and you're really dedicating your space to helping the citizen, helping as local businesses and helping them all that you're doing that as well. That's why you chose that donation based and to steer pricing model.
Exactly. Exactly.
So today you say a lot of events, there are a few people coming into the co-working. what else are you doing? Because you were saying at the beginning that you're also a civic nonprofit, doing
That's right.
maybe your own thing besides the space. And that might be a lot of work, huh?
Yes, that's been a blessing and a curse. On the one hand,
Okay.
having a space that is bright and beautiful and welcoming makes it really easy for us to host events and invite people to come to us for meetings. Before, I was having to go out around town for all of our community organizational meetings and planning, and now people get to come to us, which is very aligned with our mission to be a welcoming part of the community. So that's been lovely. I also just really enjoy coming to work here and getting the opportunity to socialize and connect with people all the time. That also feels like an integral part of our mission. The trade-off is that now I am wearing multiple hats. I am the executive director and the front of house greeter and the facilities manager for this space. And we went into this
Yes.
clear-eyed, knowing that was going to be at least a short-term responsibility, but it's a lot. And when you're trying to do deep work, grants or marketing or strategic planning, but you also have to go restock the toilet paper, or you have to say hello to all the people that come in and help them figure out how to use the Wi-Fi or whatever, or just people know where I am now. Before I was hidden out in this little dark office that no one knew. Now I'm in the middle of know where to find me. And so they come in and say, "Hey, can I pick your brain about something?" And so that's been, I won't say distracting. Yeah, distracting. I will say distracting, actually. And it's just been a lot of different hats to wear at once. And so
Yeah.
I think the challenge for us right now is figuring out, is there a way that we can structure the space to make it so that I can still do my duties as an executive director? Or do we need to think about bringing on additional staff capacity or something else to more properly manage the space so that I can stay focused on the other work of running the broader nonprofit? We've experimented with a few different things that are working okay so far. One is a volunteer greeter. So if you're come into the space and occasionally have a few distractions, but you still just want to come into the space to work, sign up to be a volunteer greeter for even a few hours at a time, or possibly even a full day of the week at a time. And you can sit at this one desk and do your work and just welcome anybody who comes in. And that's been very helpful. And we've had some great community supporters who have come in to support that. We've also tried to automate as much as possible, easy to sign in QR codes and guidelines by the door. And we have a lot of trust in this community. It's a small, we leave our doors
Mhm.
unlocked, you go out, and I've done that with this space too. When I have to go out for a meeting or to grab lunch or something, I literally take a sign and put it by the front door that says, "You're in charge. Please take care of the space." And so people that are coming in can still use it, but they're just, okay, I guess I'm in charge now. And thankfully, we have that type of trust in our community, and they trust us in that respect. And,
Yeah.
worked okay so far, but we're still exceeding our management capacity, I guess you could say. And so I'm now writing some grant applications to try to get funds to hire a community manager or a facilities coordinator or that type of role to really
Yeah.
help support it.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds amazing that it's really by the community, for the community, with your volunteer greeters, but also with putting just the guest in charge, saying, "Hey, I'm out for an hour. If you come in, here's a bus then."
Yeah, exactly. And for some of my guests who are frequent flyers, if you will, who
Uh-huh.
come regularly, and we start to establish that
Mhm.
trust with one another, I also give them their
Yes.
own access code. We have a keypad on the door where you can create custom access codes. So I just give them their own access code and I say, if you want to stay late, that's fine. If you want to come early, that's fine. I trust you. Just lock up when you leave, please. Here's how to shut down the space. If other people come in before I get here, you just have to greet them and stuff. And so, yeah, there's a lot of trust that has gone into making this space work. And I
Yeah.
love that. It feels really true to our mission.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing, I would say. And maybe not possible everywhere, but
Right.
maybe in some other communities there is that kind of trust and you could do something similar.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. This is probably wouldn't work in a big city or a place where you have more security concerns, but in a small town where there's a lot of trust in your neighbors, where you can have that type of flexibility, I think it is an interesting model. I think also this is something that would apply to probably all co-working spaces is the more people are oftentimes looking for responsibility or ways to support beyond just
Yeah, yeah,
or they're coming to a co-working space because they want to belong, right? They're
yeah.
looking for connection. If they weren't, they'd just be working out of their office or a coffee shop with their headphones in. But in a co-working space, oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
it's a space for people to connect. And so inviting them to be part of your mission and part of your operations can actually be
Involving them, yeah.
lot can be
Mm.
really powerful, and it can be a way to create return customers. At least that's been my experience. It doesn't take much in terms of friendliness, in terms of inviting people to be a greeter or help water plants or occasionally keep an eye on things while I go out to grab lunch. And it makes them feel like they're a part of something that they wouldn't have otherwise been.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really inspiring and it's helping everybody grow in some kind of way.
That's right.
That's how it looks now. What about in the future? What are you planning next? You were saying that you're planning to bring some more furniture. Do you have a precise idea? Do you have any services you want to add? What's next?
Yeah. Well, if the co-working takes off, one thing I'm realizing is that we probably need more private spaces for people to take calls like this.
Mm,
Right now, we just have the one
yes.
phone booth. We probably need another one. So I'm out there on Facebook Marketplace hunting constantly for another phone booth, something to get a discounted rate, hopefully.
Yes.
Another thing that I'm really interested in, we have one closet right now that we use for some of our event supplies and extra tables and
Mhm.
things. I want to turn it into essentially a nonprofit tool library. So
Okay.
you don't need, we have shockingly over 50 nonprofits registered just in our zip code. So in our local region here, a
Yes.
lot of nonprofits. We don't all need our own folding tables and chairs and projectors and speaker system
Mhm,
and like we should all be sharing those in a way that
mhm.
all of us money, but helps us work more effectively. And so I'm hoping to turn our closet into a nonprofit tool library where people can, maybe nonprofits will pay $100 a year or something to get first come, first serve access to those supplies. And then they can come in, just sign those materials in, sign them back or sign them out, sign them back in when they return them. I love, of using this space as another way to support our broader nonprofit ecosystem here in town and maybe other organizations,
Yes.
businesses as well over time. So that's soon on the to-do list. I think bringing in additional staff support would be lovely. And so that's
Mhm,
also on the list. And then we're trying to design out more of our own programming for this space. We and most of it in a partnership fashion, talking to other organizations like there's a
mhm.
community college, Central Oregon Community College. In many towns in our region, they have an actual campus or at least a building where they can host classes. But here in Sisters, they don't. And so they're very interested in using our space to do continuing education courses and to
Yeah.
do entrepreneurial workshops and things like that through their small business development center. And even if it's not necessarily us planning the events ourselves, it's us going out there looking at what are the community's needs
Yes.
and then trying to recruit partners who can use the space to serve those community needs. And so I'm excited to continue working on having a steady cadence of events in the space. I'm
Yes.
also very keen to, yeah, maybe find some support. And then another thing that's coming up is that I haven't mentioned yet. We
Yes.
needed art on our walls, and I didn't want to pay for it.
Oh, no.
So we decided this is a perfect marriage to support local up and coming artists who maybe aren't ready or not interested in having their work shown in a gallery, but still want to have a public presence for that art and maybe be able to sell their pieces. And so we have a rotating artist in residence program, we call it, where for 2 to 3 months at a time, local artists can showcase their work on the walls. Everything is for sale on an honor system. We just pay via Venmo and take it off the wall and bring it home. And we're about ready to bring in our second round of artists. So that's going to be pretty
Yeah.
exciting to get some fresh art up on the walls. And I'm
Yes.
looking at ways to I've actually gotten a lot of interest from local artists who want to be part of that. And so I'm trying to iron out the kinks of,
Okay.
well, how do I what's the best way to bring this art in an equitable fashion and to ensure that
Mm.
views and perspectives can be represented as well. So that's on the docket. I think those are some of the main things coming up. I think the final thing is just now that we've ironed out the kinks, we've been really good at having a test and learn model. So everything's
Yes.
flexible, our try-in system, our donation system, our pricing structure. And now that we've got a few months under our belt, I think it's time to systematize that a little bit more, to have things not rigid, but just documented and structured more consistently so that we
Mm-hmm.
can continue to deliver a reliable product to our customers, I guess you could say.
Yeah, between flexibility and standardization, you have to find your own balance, and it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. I think we
Mhm.
probably lean a little bit more towards the flexible side, just being a donation-based space and
Mhm.
being a nonprofit. But a nonprofit is just a business that reinvests its profits back into the business, if you will. And so we
Mhm.
know that we should be thinking about this space as a business if we want it to be sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. To- Totally. Wow. We're coming to the end bit by bit, but before that, I wanted to ask if there's anything else we didn't talk about you want to tackle.
Couple of things. One that's exciting, and because I know that this isn't going to be published for a few months, I can say I just learned
Yes.
that actually the governor of our state is going to be coming for a luncheon in this space along with a bunch of other elected officials and leaders
Woo.
in a couple of weeks. And so that feels like you have a group that is organizing a tour of affordable housing in Central Oregon, and they chose our space for a midday luncheon on their tour. And I got a call here saying, "Oh, and by the way, the governor is going to be there as well." And I'm looking around now. Okay, what do I need to spruce up for these fancy people that are coming? But it's like an honor to be able to showcase our space to people in those types of positions. So that's exciting. The other thing I guess I could say is just one invitation and one suggestion. The invitation is just if you find
Yes.
yourself and if any of your listeners find themselves in Central Oregon, I hope they'll consider visiting us, because one thing that we love to do is just open our playbook and share our advice and our experience with as many people as possible. I'm a systems change nerd myself, but I'm working in a place-based setting, and so I'm able to share my experience or my lessons learned with people around the world. That is a way to achieve that broader scale change that I'm really passionate about. And so I love using what we do to inspire others. And I am happy to have you copy everything that we've done if it works for you. And then I think the other suggestion, which I've already hit on, but my advice for other people in a co-working or looking to start a co-working space or doing something like this is, one, you can start small and experiment over time and see what works and what doesn't. And the
Mhm.
more that you remain flexible at the beginning and test and learn, I think the more that you're going to find out what the community really wants along the way. And that's ultimately going to lead to a more enduring and sustainable product. And then the other piece of advice, which kind of goes along with that, is whenever possible, invite the community into what you're doing, whether it's us inviting community members to host events here for free, oftentimes, and encouraging them that this is a space where they feel welcome and can have their events, or whether it's inviting them to be volunteer greeters, anything like that, that makes the community feel like they're invested in your space is, again, going to create a more enduring product, because they feel like it's not just a place where they come to work and have a transaction. It's a place that they actually feel invested in. So that's
Yeah.
my advice.
That's that's really nice. Thank you so much. And last but not least, if people want to know more about what you're doing and about you and reach out, where can they do that?
Yeah, so the easiest place to find that information will be on our website for the hub, as we call this space. Did I
Mhm.
even mention that it's called the hub? I forget. But yes, we call it the hub. We have a Western vibe in this town, and so the hub is like the center
Yes.
of a wagon wheel, and we have
Mhm.
spokes to the rest of our community. So the website is sistershub.org. Sisters plural, name of our town, hub.org, and you'll be able to find information about the co-working space, my contact information at the bottom, etc.
Okay, fantastic. And the show description. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It was very nice.
Thank you so much for having me. It's cool to hear that I'm big in Belgium now.
It's an international podcast. I'm all over Europe, Americas, and Asia, and soon Africa, I hope. So,
Ooh, exciting. It's an honor to be on from all the way over here in Oregon. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
thank you too. Bye bye.
Cheers.